No, we can't make a
Hold on,
motion.
Freddie,
Yes, we
hold
can.
on, hold on, Greg, just hold on. I want anybody here within the public's got anything they want to say?
Yeah, we paid
Mr.
Mr.
Nobles,
Edmonds $25 an hour.
Listen, get out of order, I'm listening, I'm letting him speak. I just.
Well, Anna just said, let her finish her statement
Okay, she don't
before I
want to
make
speak.
mine.
She didn't want to speak.
That's what she
Go ahead,
said.
Mr. Nobles.
Look, I've been involved in this since day one, okay? We shared the office with Interior Design and the Auctioneer License Board for many a year, okay? The same person, until Cher was hired, okay? Cher was not in the office all the time. For your information, she was not there all the time. This is nothing but it's a show. Every time you come over here, it's a show. I mean, you got one or two people keeps this thing disrupted all the time. I mean, what's your problem? I mean, where are you going with this?
Well, from the outset, Mr. Nobles, I was against this office not having a personnel here. From the
If you're
outset,
so against it, why don't you get off this board?
I don't have to. I was
Well,
appointed here.
Okay,
So-
hold on, Ms. Wilkes, what do you have to say?
Well, I'd just like to clarify what Mr. Nobles said. It is true I was not a full-time employee when I worked for the board. It is also true that I was required to be in the office for the number of hours that I was currently being employed. So whether that be the year or so that I worked 20 hours a week, or the 25 hours a week, or the 30 or the 35 hours a week, I was required to be physically in the office. I was also required to punch a time clock. I was required to take leave when I was not physically in the office. So I was required to abide by all of the same rules and regulations that every other state employee was required to do. And if I wasn't in that office, if I was on vacation, or if I knew that I was going to be out of the office for an extended period of time, I was also often required to call the temp service that the state is contracted with, West Staff, and hire a temporary to be a warm body in that office, because that's what Mr. Gay, who was the chairman of the board, required of me. So just to clarify that just a little bit.
Well,
I can speak for
I don't know anything
myself.
about a time clock. I never knew there was a...
Oh, you were the one that declared that we have to have the time clock.
All right,
I can go back and show it to you in the minutes, Larry. You were the one that decided
Mr.
that
Chairman,
you'll need a time.
Ms. Wilkes, are you through? Ms. Wilkes?
Yes, I'm through.
Okay. Anybody else in the public like to speak? Marvin?
Yeah, maybe my business isn't very supporting this prejudice, but I have called here maybe twice or three times in the last 5 years, or since you've been here, Sheriff, I mean, 2 or 3 times, and I have never failed to get a call back from her within a very prominent time, or very right away. In other words, she answered the call.
And I do answer the phone. I answer the phone.
Now, sometimes she answered herself, and
Sometimes
like I
you're in
said,
the
I probably
line.
only call her
Are
3
you
or
on
4
the other
times.
line?
And I think I have about as much need to call here as anybody else would know. My opinion is, if this board has adapted a policy under which she works, and it's majority of the board, the rest of them keep their mouth shut.
Well, it's up to the board.
Well, I made a motion and made a
I
policy.
seconded.
So why Gaga and what Sherry did and what happened 5 years ago, or
Well,
what happened 10 years ago,
Mr.
is
Chairman, I've
irrelevant.
stated, and I've
And
stated
if
on
there's
record.
if there is a problem with what's happening, write it down and present it to the board as an official complaint.
Well, from the outset, my stand has been that this office needs to have set times, that somebody's in here. And I'll stay with that, and I'll stick with that. And that's what I feel, in order for this office to function properly, to meet the needs of the general public, then this office has to have set times. If not, then what we need to do is move the office to Ms. Edmonds' residence, shut down this building, take care of this expense, and when we need to have a board meeting, we'll go meet at a hotel conference room. Because if she's not going to be here, then we're occupying space that we're not utilizing.
That's your opinion.
Well, no,
But the
if she's
fact
not
is,
here,
you
she don't
like
have
it.
office hours.
Everybody here knows you
So-
don't like it.
Well, it's not about a policy of dislike. It's about a policy of operations and business ethics.
All right, Mr. Bordelon?
Well, that's my right with a motion, and it was second. I think legally we're supposed to vote on that.
You got a point of order, you got.
Okay, let's have it again. Let's have the motion and the second.
I make a motion that we
I
accept
said that we
it.
take a roll call vote.
We will. You got it.
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal written.
I second it.
Have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Brister?
Yes.
Mr. Bordelon?
Yes.
Ms. Steinkamp,
Yes.
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Mr. Phillips,
No?
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Yes, no,
Question?
Good,
Okay, now there's, I'm sorry.
good.
Okay, I'm gonna also, offer that we also make a substitute motion that depending DOA's information and everything else that pertains to Ms. Edmonds and this job description that she has here also be considered in the finalization of this proposal.
Should we have to make that before the motion passed?
Yeah, you have to substitute after. You can do another motion.
Well-
But again, that's, you know, like I said, this does not address, what we're talking about does not address this particular agreement. Because that's, it's sort of apples and oranges. If you want to come in and put a motion for the board that this office remain open for a certain number of hours per day, now you know she's here, you know, pretty much every day. So that, you know, if there's a specific time period, then that would be up to the board to make that decision. Because most of, you know, business, if it's done online or by telephone or otherwise, then that's up to the board to make that decision. I'll be glad to pull the DOA requirements he's talking about, I'm not aware of it, and then we can go from there. We do have to address, however, the issue, I left blank the amount of pay for Ms. Evans, and we do need to put that into the
Contract.
agreement, yes.
Well,
That can
wasn't
be
that-
done separately.
It's not, wasn't that a part of the last proposal? I mean, I just calculated based on the salary and broke it down roughly somewhere around $25 an hour.
Yeah, it's going to be not hourly, it's going to be,
But the thing though,
Salary.
prior to, it was an hourly rate broken down.
yeah, but it
So
doesn't
her
have to.
agreement is not, her agreement is
So the
not.
new agreement does not propose that, correct?
Right, it's not going to be, it's not hourly pay, it's going to be a flat rate based on the form. So that both boards will have that, as long as she's complying with the requirements set forth by the board, then she is in compliance. It does not have to be an hourly, you know, rate portion.
Right.
And how do we, let me ask a question in relation to that, how do we deal with the time frame specified between this board and the next board?
So we don't have to, both boards
So-
accept this, then that's
So,
scary.
okay, so you're making a proposal with this board and the interior design so that it'll
They
be on
both
the
will
same
be on
page?
the same, they'll be both on the same basis, so it will not be how many hours here and how many hours there, which was a bone of contention in the past. This will be, if she's getting the work done for both boards and it's individual as to each board, then that's as far as it has to go.
Okay, let me ask a question. So tomorrow, Mrs. Evans decides she doesn't want to be secretary of this board, then what do we do? What do we have in place for the next policy? Are we gonna go back to the same
Well, this
policy?
is an agreement with her, yeah, this is not an
This is
agreement, and
strictly with her.
it specifically says that.
What I'm saying, I'm trying to, because I mean, we're dealing with this now. Shouldn't we be putting something that'll be universal regardless whether Ms. Evans is in that position or anyone else?
Now you're talking about a job description, which you can amend and change, and that's why we provide you a copy of the stuff. That you can go through and say, you know, this is what we want you to do, and change that accordingly, and it's incorporated into the agreement though.
Okay.
Okay.
He got a motion.
Got a motion for
We all voted.
Well, I'll just make a new
No, he
motion
made a
that we,
motion after he voted.
well, it was a substitute, which, you know, it should have been before, but I'll make another motion that we, consider looking at this a little bit further before we approve it.
We already approved it.
You can-
Correct, that's what I'm saying,
We already approved it.
correct, but I can make that a motion again.
You made a motion. Have a second?
I'm calling for a roll call vote.
You gotta have a second.
Okay, a second.
Let it be for the records that I did make a proposal, and.
It's on tape.
Yeah, it's on the
No, I
record.
mean for our records.
Well, that's on the record.
It's on tape.
Okay.
But we still need to address
We still need to address
Address the,
the salary.
the salary, and it's, you know, there's a blank there, if you want to go in today, or leave her at her current rate, or come back in 2 months. The proposal is up to the board, but I left that blank, so I didn't know what the
What
board
does she
wanted.
do for,
She's been here over a
Been here
year.
over a year.
Have you have an evaluation on records?
No, we don't have an evaluation on that. We never did get one last time when you were on that committee, remember?
I proposed an evaluation to you, Mr. Chairman. called
Never gave it
you,
to me.
I proposed
Mr.
it.
Brisker was on the committee, Ms. Steinkamp, we never got anything.
Yes,
Never had any communication with anybody.
yes, I called you, and it's on my computer, and I'll print it out so that you can have it.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion about the salary?
Well, I'd like to make a statement. I know that, I personally think she's done an excellent job. I know that when I got on this board, we were in the red. I know that we changed all that, and I think part of it was our reduction there that cost us. I think she's due a raise for the performance that I've seen, because I've never had a complaint, but nothing but good things to say about her. And usually, after the first year, you usually look at a 10% pay increase.
State usually gives
What is
4%.
the design board doing?
Well, that's
I
what I'm
don't
saying,
know.
we have nothing to.
I'm just talking about in the public, 10%
Well, I-
is usually the.
Who was on the committee to do that and really did drop the ball on that, because I did not get with anybody just because of the scheduling.
But I
Things going on.
called you several times. And I
The
called Ms.
state only
Hunt.
allows 4%, she said?
Yeah, that's basically your,
But
yeah.
that's for full-time employees, this is the second.
Yeah, and that's also cost of living increases specifically, because we're actually doing the new agreement, and theoretically, you come in, we're gonna do it on a different basis. Then you technically come in and reevaluate and go through and make that decision.
Well, if that's the case, couldn't we combine, I mean, let's look at combining and making a full-time employee and combining, you know. I think it'll be more safer to do that, and that probably would get, you know, some office time and everything else. Because she's doing 40 hours regardless, and if we're trying to escape getting around the 40-hour principle, I think we're gonna run into some problems down the road. So she's doing 40 hours. So
Well, sure, I understand.
she's doing 40 hours. I mean, if
Frank already accepted the
We've already
agreement.
but I'm saying, we're talking about the agreement. That's what I'm saying. For the
It's
It's
time.
already been voted on.
That's done, we're
We're
talking
talking
about
about
a
the salary.
salary.
Correct, that's what I'm dealing with the salary issue.
My
I'm dealing with
motion
the
is to give her a 10% increase, based on legality of the state law,
Yeah, pending, you know,
pending whatever
Okay.
legality is. That's my motion.
10%.
Okay.
I second it.
If you have a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Hey,
Raise opposed.
Yeah, we move to increase the rate, that's 10%.
and we're doing this, we're on question. We're doing this
With the
without
provision
evaluation or anything else.
No, and it's gonna, there's a provision.
She's not a full-time employee, you don't need an evaluation.
Yes, she has to have evaluation for any type of merit raise.
Well,
So we don't have one on
Chairman
record.
just pretty much
You need to
gave
read the
her-
agreement, Freddie, what you need to read, the agreement.
Well, I'm saying, we don't have
The chairman does her
evaluation.
evaluations, he
Chairman does her
basically just
evaluation.
Correct, and I just
evaluated.
asked him, did he have the evaluation? He told me no.
No, a formal one, he just gave you his opinion in the whole,
Exactly.
to the whole board, saying that she's doing a great job.
Okay, but that's,
She does everything that she's required to do by the agreement that we accepted when we initially hired her.
okay, so everything now is word of mouth and nothing written out in documentation.
Written down.
She
It's
seems
all there.
satisfied.
It's already been voted on.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
We still have the question.
The question is before the vote. Discussion's supposed to be before the
The
vote.
chairman did not ask for the question.
Yeah.
We voted.
Yeah, it's done.
He didn't, he said he didn't say question. I was waiting for the question. I asked for the question. He didn't say it, so, I
What is
mean,
the question?
well, that was my question.
What is your
What
question?
is your question?
Well, my question was, from the evaluation side, we're giving a performance raise just based on what he felt and nothing more. nothing
You've heard
just-
everybody in here say, and I deal with her and Anna on a daily basis.
I
Okay.
haven't had any problem.
Okay, well, what's the problem?
With Ms. Evans.
What is the problem?
The problem
Maybe I
is,
can't get it, I don't know.
well, the problem is the same thing, what you have in mind, any other things, you know.
The agreement was the agreement, that's what the board. voted.
We get the agreement, at least today. I asked Ms. Evans about this
We've
information
heard
when I
that
called
already.
her.
Okay, we've
So
heard this already.
when I come in here, you expect me to just, okay, boom, 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 let me look
Same
at
thing
this.
everybody looked at.
Well, correct,
everybody
but
else,
if
same
she
thing
could have
we
sent
looked
this to me if it was already a proposal.
The finished documents were not ready when we
Nobody
called.
got it early.
Okay, so when I called and asked about this, you didn't say, well, the finished documents have been in process. You told me we had a proposal that we want to present, and I asked you for it.
I said we were talking